Will you take a breath with me? Yeah? Well, it's May 6th, late afternoon, and I'm in a wheelchair in the hospital. I can't walk. I can't lift my arms. I can barely move, and my body is screaming a 10 out of 10 on the pain scale. Now, a couple hours earlier, I was going to a ranch with a friend to do a guided horseback ride. We get there, I go to the bathroom, I exit, and I see my friend and the guide already on the horse. And I'm walking to the horse, and I'm thinking, shouldn't I greet this horse before I get on it? And I asked the guide, the ranch hand, and he's like, no, we're in a hurry. And I'm like, okay. So I ignore my own instincts. 10 minutes into this ride, I am flying off the horse towards a bunch of jagged rocks, and then I poof, flat on my ass, hard. But the first thought through my mind was not about the pain. It wasn't about the horse. It was, damn it, when am I going to learn to stop people-pleasing? So there I am on the ground, and I can feel the circuitry in my spine is off. My friend comes over, she puts my head into her lap, and she starts like gently stroking my arm, and I go inward, start meditating, trying to calm my nervous system. And then all of a sudden, these like 4 like rodeo-type California cowboys come rushing over and like circling around and hovering around. And one of them asked me, can we help you up? And I'm like, no. Ask again, hey, we can help you up. No. Another moment later, we should really help you up. And my no this time is just a lot weaker. And so he decides he knows best. So he motions to 2 guys, they grab my arms and lift. It's freaking excruciating. And it's also obvious that my legs are not working. About an hour later, the ambulance sirens are going, the lights are, flashing. Huge, massive scissors are cutting off all of my clothes, and a morphine drip is going into my arm. And then I'm in the hospital. And I'm looking straight down the eyes of a spinal surgeon who says, you have a 10% chance of ever walking again without surgery. We have to operate immediately. Whoa. The cost of people-pleasing has come at way too high of a price. But this was not the first time that I had silenced my own inner voice. In fact, I had a whole lifetime history of thinking that I had to earn love by over-giving, overcompensating, hiding myself, shaming myself, anyone else? Yeah. So for me, the cost of being lovable was spiritual and emotional bankruptcy. It started at 3, when I just want to play and connect with my dad. But he tells me I want too much attention. And so I learned from that exchange that I'm too much. Shortly after, I hear fists going through the drywall, screaming. The door slams. He's gone. My mother's sitting on the bed, crying next to the cut-up credit cards. She looks down at the little 3-year-old me and says, your father's leaving. He's not coming back. We don't have any money. I learned from that exchange that my needs are a burden. At 8, my mother's car accident puts her into a wheelchair. She becomes addicted to prescription drugs and emotionally unavailable. Fun time. I become the caretaker, the good daughter. And that exchange teaches me that loving means fixing mom, even if that means erasing myself. Keep breathing. By 14, at 14, the impact of my stepfather's sexual abuse was swept under the rug. And that came at the cost of my silence. What I learned from that exchange was that my experience doesn't matter. 19, I'm brutally raped. My virginity stolen. That exchange taught me that acts called love equal danger. At 20, I start to turn all that silencing inward, and I was bulimic for a decade. All the punishing, the self-abandoning, all of it, from what I thought others would go ahead and do. 21, I start my first business. And workaholism and material success, they become my hiding place. By my mid-20s, I'm drinking 2 pots of coffee a day, not sleeping 2 nights a week. And the sacrifice of this exchange is clear. I just sacrifice my body, and maybe, just maybe, I'll be worthy of love. But every exchange that I make on these terms leave me more bankrupt inside. Here I am in the hospital, and it hits me like, oh my gosh, the last 15 years of talk therapy and meditation and plant medicine have all been to help me overcome this loss of love outside of myself. And here I am. My spine, my literal backbone is broken. And then a switch flips. And all of the learning, all of the challenges, all of the suffering, all of the sacrificing, all of the lessons, I finally get it. Life is happening for and with me, not to me. And it's like I've accessed some superpowers that I didn't know I had, and all the strength that I didn't know that I had. And so there I am, coming out of anesthesia after an 8.5-hour spinal surgery to install 2 titanium rods and 8 screws. And the first words out of my mouth are, "I'm so grateful. For I have a whole new back. I'm so grateful for all this support. It's more than I could ever imagine." Seriously, I have a video. My face is like 3 times the size. My voice is dropped like multiple octaves, and I'm still saying, I'm grateful. Here's the thing about my voice. I had a speech impediment as a child, and I worked really hard in therapy, speech therapy, to correct it. In choir, I pushed to be the soprano because I thought higher was better, I was so accustomed to just doing whatever I needed to do and the people pleasing to contort myself to be whatever I thought would make me lovable. Exhausting. It's exhausting. And there I am in the hospital, coming out of anesthesia, and my voice is deep and resonant and so unmistakably mine. And through it, finding my voice, I recognize that all the love I've ever longed for is right here inside of me. And I'm still in incredible, epic amounts of pain. 10 out of 10 on the scale. Nerve, bone, muscle, even through all of the narcotics. Brutal. but I have some new superpowers. So I decided that I want to start using them. And so I start welcoming this pain. I literally talk to it. I say, pain, you are welcome here. And then I would take my full focus and I would put my attention on the point in my body where I was experiencing the most intense pain. And I would love the heck out of it. I would soften it, breathe into it, and then when I was able to stop resisting holding it, the pain would shift, it would move, it would become a sensation, and it was no longer pain. And I would do this hour after hour for 6 days. I practiced until each time I would pass out from all of the effort. Here's what I started to notice. Something miraculous started to happen. As I was allowing and even really welcoming this physical pain, it was also drawing up the old emotional pain. Fear, shame, grief. And then I met it with love, and it dissolved. And I discovered grace. It was the alchemy for grace. Not grace as politeness, but grace as power. Grace as acceptance, grace as forgiveness, grace as compassion, and grace became a key to my healing. It was gratitude and grace that opened the door to my superpowers, but it was grit that walked me through the door. And so every day in rehab, I invested everything I had. I went all in. And I believed with everything in me that I would walk out. And so I backed that up with all my effort. Loving myself gave me a lot of access to loving other people too. In fact, there really could have been a lawsuit, you know? In fact, all my attorney friends were like so ready to pounce. You know, sue, get millions kind of thing, but I knew that if I went down that path, that all the miracles that were happening inside of me, like I would interrupt that. So I waited. And then many months later, I came back and I revisited it. And I asked myself, what is it that I really want? And I had a vision. I saw myself sitting in a circle at the ranch with the owner and those California cowboys and the facilitator and myself talking about truth, talking about impact, talking about restoring justice. And you know what? It happened for 3 hours at the ranch on hay bales with these California cowboys. And the beauty of this is that not only did that create so much more for me, but also for them and our community, more so than a lawsuit ever would. But I asked for 3 things. I said, I want you to introduce people to your horses before they ride. I want you to train your staff to honor a woman's no and on proper medical protocol, because I should have never been lifted. And how about you just make a donation to my nonprofit? That circle was profound for me because I recognized that when we exchange on the terms of love, it changes everything. For me, this process I discovered through 3 primary truths. 1, Gratitude for it all, even the SHIT. Grace to just open fully and let it all flow through. And grit to believe fully and get up and rise and walk yourself all the way home to love. 14 days after the injury, I walked out of the rehab hospital, off of narcotics, at a pain threshold of 3.5. The medical staff called it a miracle. I call it my midlife chrysalis. This wasn't just physical healing, this was a metamorphosis of my identity. And I learned that real exchange, true exchange, is really, the metric for it is love. And when we exchange with love, miracles happen. And I stand here in gratitude, with grace, and certainly with a whole lot of freaking grit as living proof. Thank you.